Sometimes, the most magical corners of a garden are born not from expensive supplies or perfect plans, but from the simple act of noticing what we already have. A chipped teacup, a rusted spoon, a forgotten drawer. These humble things carry stories, textures, and quiet beauty that new objects can never imitate. By reimagining them, we don't just decorate. We give them a second life, one that holds more meaning because it's shaped by our own hands. In this journey, you'll discover 10 inspiring ideas that transform everyday objects into enchanting garden art. Each one is real, achievable, and filled with the kind of charm that only handmade things can bring. From bird feeders that sway gently in the wind to miniature fairy doors that spark curiosity, every project invites you to slow down, to create, and to let nature finish the work you start. Sometimes, the most magical corners of a garden are born not from expensive supplies or perfect plans, but from the simple act of noticing what we already have. A chipped teacup, a rusted spoon, a forgotten drawer. These humble things carry stories, textures, and quiet beauty that new objects can never imitate. By reimagining them, we don't just decorate. We give them a second life, one that holds more meaning because it's shaped by our own hands. In this journey, you'll discover 10 inspiring ideas that transform everyday objects into enchanting garden art. Each one is real, achievable, and filled with the kind of charm that only handmade things can bring. From bird feeders that sway gently in the wind to miniature fairy doors that spark curiosity, every project invites you to slow down, to create, and to let nature finish the work you start. In the gentle hush of the morning, when the air still smells of dew and the garden hums quietly, a vintage teacup sways from a driftwood branch. Once it served tea at family gatherings, its porcelain smooth under countless fingers. Now it holds birdseed, and the soft flutter of wings has become its new music. You don't need rare tools or complex instructions for this magic. Just a teacup, a length of strong twine, and a branch that feels right. Hang the cup where it can catch both sunlight and shade, and where curious birds can land without fear. Fill it with seed and watch how quickly word spreads in the avian world. Each visit becomes a tiny story. A robin balancing on the rim, a sparrow tipping its head as if in gratitude, a goldfinch scattering husks to the ground for ants to carry away. If your teacup is chipped, don't hide it. Let it speak of its years. That worn gold trim, the faded roses, they tell the truth of something cherished and kept. And the birds don't mind at all. Over time, ivy may reach up to meet the cup, or moss may gather along the handle. This slow merging of plant and object is part of the beauty. What began as a forgotten dish now becomes part of the garden's living story. In a quiet garden, the wind becomes a musician. Spoons that once stirred soup now catch sunlight and sing a soft metallic tune. A rolling pin, retired from the kitchen, sways gently above rosemary and mint, its wooden surface seasoned by time. Making a wind chime from kitchenware is less about perfect symmetry and more about listening to the materials. Hold each spoon, fork, or key in your hand and let the sound guide you. Pair different metals for varied tones. Hang them at uneven lengths to create a natural rhythm. There's something deeply grounding about this transformation. Objects once bound to the inside world now live under the open sky, letting rain, sun, and wind rewrite their purpose. On a breezy day, the melody is never the same twice. You might find that the chimes also draw visitors. Curious sparrows, the occasional butterfly resting on a string, a neighbor pausing at your gate to listen. It's the kind of art that belongs not to the maker alone, but to anyone who hears it. And the beauty is in its imperfection. A slightly bent fork, a spoon with scratches, a bead missing from its strand. These details make the music honest. When you stand near and close your eyes, you hear not just wind and metal, but the echoes of kitchens past, meals shared, laughter carried, and the simple hum of life. Along the garden's pebble path, clusters of mushrooms rise where none grew before. Look closer and you'll see the stems are bamboo. The caps are old teacups turned upside down, painted in soft pastels or vivid reds. Making them is an act of gentle imagination. Choose cups with character. Chipped edges, faded patterns, enamel flecks. Paint them in the colors of your fairy tale, whether mossy greens to blend into nature or bright polka dots to stand out. Seal them with outdoor varnish to protect their charm from rain. Place them where you want a touch of magic, between creeping thyme, under ferns, or at the edge of a shaded bench. Watch how sunlight plays on the glaze, how raindrops linger on the curve of the cup like tiny jewels. Sometimes nature participates in the illusion. A frog finds shelter beneath a red toadstool cap, or a snail takes a slow journey across a pastel dome. These small, living moments give your creation life beyond its making. Over time, the paint may fade, moss may creep up the stem. Don't fight it. This is how your mushrooms will truly belong to the garden, not as visitors but as residents. Each one will hold the story of the day you placed it there, the weathered hand that did the painting, and the quiet belief that beauty can bloom from anything. Sometimes the smallest details hold the most wonder. Beneath the shade of violets, a seashell becomes a dining table, complete with miniature teacups no bigger than thimbles. A cork swing hangs from twine, carrying a fairy no heavier than a bead. Creating miniature fairy garden scenes is about seeing the world through a child's eyes. Look at buttons, beads, shells, and scraps of wood, not for what they are but for what they could be. Start with a base of moss to soften the scene. Add pathways from pebbles or crushed shells, perhaps a bench from popsicle sticks. If you craft a bridge, place it over a shallow bowl of water with a few petals floating. Instant enchantment. The joy is in the quiet pace of making. There's no rush here, no need for precision unless it pleases you. Every imperfection only adds to the charm, making the scene feel lived in, like a real home for tiny, unseen guests. When sunlight touches your miniature world, the shadows stretch and shift as if the fairies themselves are moving about. Children will crouch low to see every detail. Adults will pause, surprised by the pull of their own imagination. And maybe that's the real magic. Not the objects themselves, but the moment someone leans closer and forgets, for just a breath, that it's all pretend. Some pieces of furniture hold more than just memories. They hold the potential to bloom again. An old drawer, once forgotten in a dusty attic, can become a cradle for flowers. A chair whose seat gave way years ago now holds a basket spilling with green life. To begin, choose a sturdy piece. 4 drawers. Line the inside with coconut coir or landscaping fabric to help with drainage. For chairs, secure a wire or wooden box where the seat once was. Add soil, plant flowers or herbs, and watch them spill over the edges like laughter. You can paint the wood to match your garden's palette, or leave it bare and weathered for a rustic charm. Each scratch, dent, and faded patch tells a story of its own. Over time, rain and sun will deepen these marks, making the planter feel as though it has always belonged outdoors. Place your furniture planter somewhere it can be admired up close, on a patio at the end of a garden path, or under the shelter of a tree. It becomes more than just a container. It's a conversation piece, a reminder that beauty doesn't fade when something grows old. It simply changes shape. In a few months, when blooms spill over the sides and bees hum around the edges, you'll see how life can be coaxed from even the most unexpected places. Colanders and strainers, with their neat perforations, were made for more than draining pasta. They were made for catching sunlight and letting plants breathe. Hung in the garden, they become little baskets of joy, each hole turning sunlight into patterns across the soil. To make one, find a sturdy colander or strainer. Metal or enamel works best. If you want color, spray paint it with outdoor safe paint before planting. Line the inside with coconut fiber or moss. Fill with lightweight potting soil. And choose plants that spill or trail. For a tiered garden, slide multiple colanders onto a metal rod or sturdy chain, securing each one so it doesn't tip. Stagger your colors. Bright blooms on top, softer greenery below, to create a cascade of texture. Over time, rust may form and paint may chip, but these changes only add character. In the golden light of late afternoon, you might see the holes scatter tiny dots of sunlight across the deck, like fireflies frozen in midair. Whether they hang from a porch, a pergola, or a tree branch, these planters bring life to eye level, making you pause and notice details you might have missed if they were on the ground. In a garden full of sprawling plants, sometimes it's the vertical details that surprise the eye. Stacking teacups into a totem is like building a story. Each cup holds its own history, and together they create something entirely new. Begin by selecting cups and saucers that speak to you. Perhaps they're mismatched, chipped, or faded. Use strong, waterproof adhesive to secure each cup to its saucer, then stack them in a way that feels balanced yet playful. Fill each cup with a mix of cactus soil and moss, tucking in succulents of varying shapes and colors. These low-maintenance plants thrive in small containers and require little water, making them perfect for delicate teacups. Place the totem somewhere it can be admired from all sides: a patio table, a garden nook, or beside a bench. Over time, the plants will grow and change, spilling over the rims or forming tight clusters. The joy is in the details. A tiny bloom peeking over a cup's edge, morning dew collecting on a saucer, the contrast between porcelain and living green. This isn't just a planter, it's a vertical garden poem, one you build cup by cup. Not all birdhouses are made to look perfect. Some are meant to look as though they've always been there, part of the garden's history. A fairy tale birdhouse might lean a little to one side. Its wood faded from years in the weather. Start with salvaged wood, old fence panels, crate boards, or planks from a broken chair. Let the edges be imperfect. They add character. Assemble the walls and roof, leaving a small round opening for the birds. A knob, twig, or even a bent spoon can serve as the perch. Place the birdhouse in a quiet spot, sheltered by branches or nestled among tall flowers. Birds will come not for the paint or polish, but for the safety it offers. Over time, ivy may claim the walls, moss might grow on the roof, and the structure will feel even more a part of the landscape. This kind of birdhouse is more than shelter. It's a story waiting for wings. Every spring, new life will begin inside, and every winter, it will stand as a small promise that the garden will bloom again. Some utensils serve meals, others serve stories. In the garden, old spoons and forks can take flight as birds, bloom as flowers, or buzz as whimsical insects. Making kitchenware sculptures starts with curiosity. Hold a spoon and imagine it as a feather, a fork as a petal, a ladle as the center of a sunflower. Bend and shape the pieces carefully, attaching them with screws or welding for sturdiness. Place your creations among flowers, letting them blend with the blooms. On sunny days, they'll catch the light. On rainy days, drops will gather and glisten. These sculptures bring a playful spirit to the garden, inviting visitors to look closer and notice details they might have missed. They're also a reminder that beauty often hides in the most ordinary objects, waiting only for someone to see them differently.